1. Hey guys. I know, I usually take a decent break before starting up a sequel, so I can work on my many other books. But, I just have so many ideas. Plus. Also, in case you didn't read the description, I am sort of dropping the present tense act, mostly just for simplicity, because I know that for at least me. I was having a little difficulty switching between past and present tense, as fun as the challenge was. So, if any of you actually noticed that, then. Nice. Plus. Sorry, by the way, if the last book was a little confusing. In short, the protector of the world, who was created with the planet, to protect it, couldn't do so, so, it sent itself to the planet in a physical form. Accidentally forgetting everything when its portal collapsed on it, as well as becoming greatly weakened. The now weakened being was found and named by Herobrine, who later became their enemy as views on mortals vs immortals crossed. This war between the two ended up involving Notch, where the two changed Null's form of immortality, making it mortal. However, because it was the protector and could not be destroyed that way either, lived as a human, respawning every time they died. Blah blah, this is taking too long. You ended up facing the two immortals again, losing, then remembering everything, before kicking their bulletin ##s, making Notch mortal. After he apologized and agreed to it, and punishing the one who didn't, Herobrine, by locking him up in a sword. All's well and ends well, the protector continues to live among its people, determined to restore the planet to its former glory. Plus. A couple months later I am finally actually finishing this chapter. XP equals 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 third person POV. The clouds stretched far and wide over the darkened terrain, casting shadows over the moist earth as more liquid continued to fall, cutting off any helpless little plants and their measly attempts to grow big and strong before the rainy season. Only the tall standing, old and creaking trees, with their vines stretching down to the water, along with the outstretched lily pads were able to survive such extremes. That, along with whatever that green scum was which enjoyed growing atop the still water. Young frogs croaked amidst the gentle downpour, happy that the worst of it was finally over. Many other sneaky, slimy critters rejoiced with them that the downpour had dwindled. Plus. Splish. Splosh. Plus. 2 feet dressed in rain boots stepped through some puddles, avoiding the deeper water, preferring the dryish land. Their feet and bottom tip of dark brown, rain-coated robe brushed over several tough weeds on their mission to cross the terrain. Plus. Crunch. Plus. The leathery boots finally landed on gravel, where the water couldn't pool as much, as there was no more squishy mud to hold up the moisture. More and more gravel accompanied the feet with every step. Pretty soon the feet lifted higher, landing on crumbling pavement, the foundation which kept rain away. Up the short series of steep stairs the leather boots climbed, until they made their way onto some floorboards with an intruding creak. Plus. Several men and women from within the structure silenced themselves, turning abruptly to face this hooded stranger. The man stood short in comparison to the many, rain-coated feet stepping cautiously upon entry. A cluster of untrusting eyes stuck to the newcomer like glue as he came to sit at a tall stool in front of the bar. It was clear he didn't wish for the attention, as the man pulled his robe tighter around himself, not allowing a single glimpse of his shadow-covered face. Mumbling began to arise in those thinking. Plus. Now who might you be? Haven't seen you at any of the immortal conventions. The bartender struck up conversation as he busied himself with the dishes. Plus. That isn't important. The robed figure finally spoke, though it was obviously faked. The pitch was deepened and he forced it to be much more muffled than it likely was. This only brought around him even more suspicion. All I ask for is a place to stay a couple nights. He continued, wanting to leave it at that. But, unfortunately for him, the others there began pestering the stranger with quiet whispering and murmuring about who he might be. Plus. You'll also like. What if he's mortal? One of them finally brought up the idea, which spurred on even more mumbling. Plus. Listen, sir, your identity appears to be attracting quite the attention. Can you please just take off the hood before things get out of hand? The bartender finally asked, setting down a cup and picking up another to clean. Plus. I am afraid I can't do that. His forced deep tone came out in more of a growl, however it wasn't enough to keep the man behind him from standing and pulling the hood down himself. A bald head, thick black beard, and 2 brown eyes were revealed from it. Plus. I knew it. Someone from the back of the crowd whispered loudly to the friend he wanted to impress. Many eyes widened as the robed man reached back for his hood again in a hurry, a desperate attempt to last a little longer. Plus. It's Notch. Plus. The room suddenly grew hostile, as large to small immortals stood from their seats, angered that this human had stooped to intruding. Plus. No mortals allowed. Sir, I am afraid you will have to leave. The bartender spoke firmly, arm swinging outward to point at the door he had entered. Plus. And no. Please. The mortals won't accept me either. They say I am still a threat. Please. You know I won't hurt any of you guys. You know that, right? Aaron Woodward. Pablo. Dheeraj. Storm. Jaffer Sheriff. Eric. Yush. Come on, guys, you know me. Right, Jeff Ott. Not even you, Maiko. Oh come on. Someone go get Jeb. He'll say I'm in the clear, for sure. Notch pleaded with the firm crowd as they urged him out the door, not caring when their names were called. The fallen immortal was forced to leave with one final shove, pushing him all the way off the porch, once again to the mercy of the drizzling clouds. Plus. The one who pushed him grunted, "It doesn't matter whether you knew us or not. We know you were punished to die a mortal's fate for a reason. The Protector's words are final. We're sorry." And, with that, the door was slammed on the loner. On the fallen immortal. On the outcast. And like this he would be stuck, merely mortal, life now in the hands of the universe which had cursed him. Standing himself up, Notch left the gravel pathway, no destination in mind whatsoever. He had already accomplished the one and only task he had been given. Now. He was merely a speck taking up the Earth's spare oxygen. Forced to search for somewhere he might belong. Plus. Bam. Plus. The dark void being landed harshly on the pavement, cracking the ground under its feet. Several startled souls around it jumped in shock, before realizing it was only Uni, the Protector. Plus. Oh, sorry. Uni stepped away from the divot in the concrete it had just caused, apologizing to the person running over to examine the damage. Other than the cracked floor the Protector had just caused, the place around it was absolutely flawless. Trees trimmed to fit perfect shapes of majestic horses, a massive fountain, decorated to look like the immortal who built it, and most of all, a large, grand mansion surrounded in a maze of perfectly trimmed hedges. Waiting for the Protector already were 2 mortals. One stood tall and lean, with blonde hair recently trimmed. The other stood a little shorter, with reddish-brown hair and a little beard accompanied by sideburns. Both wore suits, clearly prepared for a formal meeting. Plus. You're late. You know we can't start this without you. The redhead, clearly agitated, held himself back mostly from snapping at the being of void. Plus. Apologies, Denmark. Uni apologized again, this time to the redhead. The other beside him was none other than Carter, who in the past few years had taken his place in politics as well, only as more of an assistant to the one they had met many years prior. The very man who had made it his goal to collect all immortals under a contract for the mortal's safety. Plus. One. Hey guys. I know, plus, so, if any of you actually noticed that, then, in short, the Protector, we do most of the talking, and you stand, same as always, Uni. We do most of the talking, and you stand as our representative for the cause. Carter laid down the plan as the 3 began walking towards the grand staircase which lead up to an even grander pair of arched double doors. Uni walked parallel with the 2, now after all these years finally used to being so large compared to the average human, at just over 7 feet tall. Carter's head just barely rose to a couple inches above its shoulders. Plus. Uni, do you know anything about this immortal that might be important here? Denkark, or Denny, asked the Protector as the 3 reached the staircase, all 3 walking up them in strides. Plus. No. I never heard of him as anything other than a recluse. I don't think he even showed himself until the war between the two higher immortals was deemed over. So, only about 10 years ago. Plus. 10 years. Yeesh. Am I really that old? Carter commented with a chuckle as he looked down at himself. Nothing over 30, Sir Uni said playfully, bringing out a laugh from its friend. Both knew he had just celebrated his 30th birthday only a few months ago. Plus. When the three reached the two large darkwood doors, Uni only had to knock once before they were opened. Plus. Universe. Oh, what wonderful timing. Come come, the master is waiting for you already. He said he was thrilled to hear such a distinguished guest would be over for a visit. The man with a high, nearly shrill voice answered the door, urging for the spoken to follow. Plus. This is not merely a visit. We are here to discuss business. Denny corrected. Plus. SHH, it's fine. We don't need to rush this. He is the last on the list, after all. Uni reminded the politician in a calm tone. Lead the way, young one. It then went on to follow their welcomer, a happy skip in its step. Carter and Denmark and Carter followed closely on either side. The three were led down the one, large, grand hallway, which was lined with white pillars and decorative tapestries. It wasn't long until they were led through the two large doors on the other side of the hall, which opened into an expansive dining area, with a table large enough to fit nearly 100. At the very end of that table sat the immortal the three were here for. Oren Birch. Plus. AHH, Universe. How delightful of you to come for a visit. I hope you haven't come thinking wrong of me. I assure you, nothing I have done was to harm any mortal. Not now, and not then. Oren sat calmly in his seat, eyes fixed on now the largest being in the room. Carter couldn't keep himself from cringing on the inside. He always hated it when they visited an immortal who carried him or herself in such a way, but, none in the past had dared try to hurt their protector, or them, so surely they would be fine. Still, Carter kept tense as always. He preferred the ones who actually looked like they wanted a fight, in a way. At least they didn't look like they were hiding anything. Uni wasn't any more fazed by the immortal's demeanor as Denny, who instead spent his energy making himself look bold and professional. Plus. Why thank you, kind immortal. Uni started, flawlessly lifting off the air and over the table, towards their host. The two mortals had to take the traditional route and walk around alongside of the table. And what a lovely place you have here. It complimented, hovering slowly as it took time to look around at all the fine detail of the room. Plus. Why thank you. It took me an entire year to build this whole place. I am thinking of becoming an architect myself, building houses for the mortals, when they no longer fear me. Oren proclaimed. Plus. Oh, is that so? So you have already agreed to sign the treaties between immortals and mortals? Uni asked. Plus. If it will earn me their trust and respect, then yes. I had no plans to destroy any property of theirs anyway. May as well get something out of it, was the immortal's answer. Denny smiled, seeing that this last immortal would probably be one of the easiest. When Uni reached the other side of the table, it looked around a little awkward, not sure where to go next. Please, have a seat. The immortal offered kindly. Uni did so, and the two waited for the mortals to speed walk over to them, in the meantime talking about architecture and all the special materials it took to form some of the sculptures and decorations. The conversation didn't last long, ending when both Carter and Denmark reached the two, ready to address exactly what this treaty was. The large piece of paper was laid out on the table in front of Oren, and the immortal read through it carefully, every now and then asking the two mortals for clarification. His biggest worry was that he might have to follow all of the rules mortals had to. Since this whole thing was just the first step, they clarified that he only had to follow the ones that really mattered, such as the basic ones like no harming others and or another's property. Once all cleared up, the immortal signed his name, adding it to the multitude of other signatures from immortals all around the globe. Nearly 100 of them. Finally, they were done. All the immortals had finally signed their names, agreeing to respect the mortals and follow their basic rules. A small sigh escaped Denny when Oren finished his small signature, knowing that he had finally accomplished his life's dream. He would go down in history for ensuring peace between his kind and theirs. Plus. I propose we celebrate. Uni cheered between the three of them as they exited the front doors of the grand house. Plus. Yeah, sounds like a great idea. Perhaps we should invite all, mortals and immortals alike, to prove to the world that we have, indeed, brought everyone together. Denny agreed, already thinking of party ideas. Plus. I don't know. I might just go back home. I did do all this for my family, after all. I think I should celebrate with them. Carter put out there, leaning away from the large celebration idea. Plus. We can do both. You two can have some time with your families, and, I'll get started with the plans for the celebration. Uni told the two. Plus. Denmark turned to it quickly with a small smile. You would really do that? Wow, just imagine, the universe itself plans probably the biggest party in history, celebrating the world finally at peace. Heh, pretty fitting actually. Okay then. If you need any help, which you probably won't, just ask, I guess. Uni just gave him a thumbs up, glowing eyes scrunching through the dark matter rising from its form. Plus. Hey, Carter, need a lift? I could probably get us there in just a few minutes. The being of void asked its friend casually. Plus. No thanks. I prefer staying on the ground. I've already got a ride anyways. You can go on ahead though if you want. Carter picked up his pace, making his way to the horse he had ridden here. Denmark's horse and buggy was just barely peeking from behind the tall front hedges. Plus. Oh, okay. See you there, I guess. Uni scanned the sky, waving briefly before it launched itself into the sky. The sound of explosions followed it as it rose among the clouds, breaking sound barriers with its speed. It wouldn't have gone so fast had it been carrying someone, but when Uni was alone, Uni did what Uni wanted. The large puffs of white formed hoops as the protector came flinging through the sky, gaining a perfect score as it dipped and turned loop after loop. Before long the universe landed atop its favorite mountain. From up there, Uni could see far and wide. What it believed to be the perfect mix of nature and civilization around it. From the rock a reclining chair was formed, a small circular table beside it. Though its seating was stiff, like the material it was made of, Uni found comfort in watching the orange sun as it set colors of pink and purple streaking across the sky. The protector sighed in contentment, eyes sliding behind its head as it leaned back in the recliner, watching as its world prepared for yet another peaceful night. Finally, they could rest knowing no harm would come to them. Plus. As it relaxed, however, its mind began to wander. What next? Plus. Uni had never thought too much about it. Always too busy making sure the immortals never harmed the mortals again. But now, there was no longer conflict. No longer did Uni's world need its protection. The thought, almost, hurt. Plus. To every time is assigned a purpose, and to every purpose a time is given. A voice spoke. Uni lifted its head. Where had the voice come from? It almost seemed to be coming from the skies. A time to live, and a time to die. A time to kill, and a time to heal. Still, Uni couldn't pinpoint the voice's source. A time to mourn, and a time to celebrate. A time to receive, and a time to lose. Plus. Who's there? Uni stood, eyes grazing the dark purples and pinks in the sky above it. The intruding voice completely ignored the question. Plus. A time to create, and a time to destroy. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for peace, and a time for war. Following, a golden portal emerged in the sky before Uni, sending sparks of gold in all directions as the void peeking through tore and clawed at the barrier upholding the atmosphere. Uni's eyes widened. No immortal could do such a thing. What on earth had such power? What, outside of the earth, had such power? Plus.